Welcome to the first crack. Round 19 didn't disappoint. Freo flex their muscles at the G. Too hot for the Suns in Adelaide. Brisbane bridged the gap for top spot. And Carlton back on the winners list as I bring in David King and Lee Montagna. Welcome.
Dicko, Joey.
Kingy, Dicko.
Great to be back in the chair.
Yeah, good to have you back.
I'm loving it.
Fresh?
Very fresh, yeah. A bit of a spell. What do we call it? A mid-year holiday?
Mid-season.
Yeah, 5 days feels like 4 months. Let's have a look at the ladder, boys, because the results today are shaping September every game we see. So, Joey, you're our ladder man. Take it away. What do you think about the scenario we see ahead of us?
Well, the big winners today clearly were Fremantle. They now give themselves a 2-game buffer from the Western Bulldogs. Gold Coast, they're lost, but we know they've still got the game in hand. Collingwood, no absolute certainty now to finish on top. After Richmond next week, they've got 3 of the top 8 teams to come up against. Adelaide, other team now really firming for a top 4 spot.
Could finish
potentially finish top 2, which will be massive, and we'll get to them in a moment. But for the teams on 48 points, here's sort of a rough, simple equation. You need to win You need to win 3 of your last 5 games and hope the Western Bulldogs drop 1 of their last 5, and then you'll be safe to be playing in the final. So win 3 of your last 5, and that's a big result for Fremantle because their next 3, West Coast, Carlton, Port Adelaide. The other teams, maybe particularly Hawks, have got a tougher run. Geelong, we think, are pretty safe. But that's the situation. Unless the Western Bulldogs win all 5, they'll still put pressure on those teams. Gold Coast need to win 4 of their last 6.
Yeah, well, the Dogs do play the Giants and Fremantle.
That's right. So if they knock off them...
sometimes it's better to play those teams around you than it is to play the also-rans, despite banking the 4 points. But, see, it's an awful situation now for the Dogs, isn't it? Like, it's come at the wrong time.
It has.
Results have gone against them, but that's your lot. You've got to live in it.
And 4 weeks ago, we were saying, it's not going to be that interesting. We know who the 8 are. Now it becomes really interesting with 5 to go.
Yeah, we knew it was the 9. It was always a matter of which is the team that's going to miss out. And now all the work's the Dogs. They probably have to win all 5 games. As Kingy said, that includes beating the Giants and beating Fremantle to give themselves a chance. And all they need someone to really struggle and maybe go 2 and 3 on the run home.
Well, speaking of Fremantle, David King, your first crack.
Guts up at the G. Guts up, our man. Justin Longmuir got the job done, and it was a great game.
Yeah,
it really was, and you have to handle so many things when you play Collingwood at the G. The cauldron of pressure, the noise of affirmation, as Alan Richardson once touched on with, does the umpiring go their way? Of course it does. They roar like mad when they do. But this is the fourth quarter. And this is why I'm bullish on their list, Joey. Everyone takes the negative. But when they play daring footy through the corridor, not that safe crap we've had to put up with for 2 years, they can score. They can play some high-level footy. I'm rapt that Sarong was able to do what he did again today. His 4th quarters over the last month or so, barring maybe 1, have been huge. That's an easy hit to Voss, who had some sort of day. 6 goals from Patrick Voss. No one would have, in their wildest dreams, thought that was coming. But this kick here from Banfield, who I think's an easy player to hate if you support Fremantle, to pull the trigger back into the corridor, to back to Hayden Young and welcome back Hayden Young. He's the wild card. We've talked a lot about him.
Yep.
So I love when they play with bravery like that. But it's not just me that loves it, right? The competition study Fremantle. Just before you get your comment, just have a listen to what Craig McRae said after the game. And let's see if the footy world turns on Craig.
I know at quarter time you could argue that, 6 points down, whatever, but you guys watch us play, the pressure was there. We had a lot of good stuff. And saying all that, this shows how, in our eyes, we thought Fremantle were really, really good when they needed to. When they needed to get the job done, they really came hard. They play good brand of footy when they're up and going fast, isn't it? Maybe they should play a bit more of that at times. It's a good version of them.
And that is it in a nutshell. Yep. That is all we're saying. Now, some people want to take the absolute negative. I hate that other brand of footy. I think that when they play with aggression, they've got talent. I'll tell you what you won't hear this week. You won't hear, we're young and, we can't do this and we can't do that. They can play any mode you want to go into. And it probably, in a weird way, suited them that they were 16 points down. They had to go. they had to try and pierce Collingwood's forward press, which was awesome all day.
Well, they've now done this through the last 5 weeks, come from behind, which they haven't been able to do in previous years. So it's a sign of maturity. It's a sign of resilience and character with this group that they've had to roll the sleeves up, and you'll touch on Collingwood's pressure in a moment. But to withstand what they did today, Freo, when they were backs against the wall, a lot of D50, true character, and I think it's something that they can launch off now off the back of finding a way to win that game.
And one thing about the game, we were watching it upstairs, and Collingwood just sat off the kicker because they're like, we want you to kick it. And it was dare to be great. And Fremantle were daring enough to get it done. But Kingy, the pressure.
Oh, yeah.
So Craig McRae said he said, we all watched it, we brought the pressure. What did you think?
The Collingwood Cauldron, they just come from everywhere to put you under the hammer, and it was brilliant to watch. And it's easy to say, Fremantle handled it. It was impossible to handle for the first 3 quarters. And it wasn't until they took on Corridor and took the game out of these sort of bubbles where the swarming effect of the Pies, it was like a noose tightening around them. They just couldn't quite slip clear. Look at that pressure. It's just relentless. Minus 23 inside 50s. They're just numbers. When you look at it, you think, gee, how did you win this game? And through absolute bravery and some leadership and some steady heads down back, you're able to stay in the game and stay alive. But this here, it was a great spectacle and it's a great game. I don't think Craig McRae's losing any sleep, to be perfectly honest. He'd be wrapped with what he's got going with this group right now.
Yeah.
You can see their first quarter 220 season high, 206 first half season high. So it was a hectic game. It was a final at the G today.
It was the most forward 50 tackles by any team.
35.
35 equal
That's
most by what Collingwood laid there. There it is. It was an incredible performance. And to be honest, you're right, Fremantle didn't handle it, but I felt at least they didn't crumble with it. Like they had to withstand it and hold up and just give themselves a chance, which I thought was really positive. Interesting, Collingwood now, games decided by a kick or less. They've lost 3 of the last 4. So
before you leave Freo, so they hadn't scored on intercept across the halfback for the whole day, and then kicked 3 goals in the last quarter. And I keep talking about next year it being the best opportunity for this list. I think it's a year short to absolutely probably win the thing and be entrenched in the top 4. But surely they have to look at some dare. Surely the last couple of weeks gives them a fillip of confidence that they have to play to win the game rather than stay in the game for long periods, because that's what the best are doing.
Well, I spoke to you during the game. I said, Collingwood, big moment game. And Fremantle took the moment from Collingwood today. So they've got to take the confidence to go, well, this is the blueprint, now the purple print of how it's going to win.
Yeah.
But Fremantle, just on them, Joey, in terms of their clearance game. So we're talking about absorbing the pressure and taking the game on. What did you see in terms of clearance?
Well, it was just a really interesting battle because they had to make a decision because their clearance game had been poor for the last 3 or 4 weeks, except for the fourth quarters that had got them out of trouble. But they had to make a call in this game. Do we tag Nick Dacos and sort of compromise our best asset, which is our clearance game, or do we just trust our mids to get the work? And I thought it was fascinating that they didn't send Wagner to Nick Dacos, and Nick Dacos was running around getting a lot of ball in the first half, but in particular they backed themselves in the midfield to get the job done. So 4 of their 7 goals in the first half were from clearance. They were winning that battle. Now, Collingwood did a great job towards the back end of the game, but it was just fascinating that they backed themselves in, King, and said, no, we're going to trust our guys. We've got the 2 rucks. Jackson playing as a mid was able to get his hands on it. They didn't sort of succumb to tagging Nick Dacos and stayed composed, even though he was winning a lot of footy. And in the end, it was the right decision by the coach. So well done.
He's had 43. Like, at what
I know.
There is a point where you say, are we doing the right thing here? All the numbers, when you look at them, you say, that's an anomaly, that's an anomaly.
Yeah.
Gee, that's a test of the coach's box and the will of Justin. And we're praising him, don't get me wrong.
They would have wrestled with it the whole game.
They would have been going, he's up to 35 now. Now he's at 40. It would have been a test of wills.
Yeah, but I don't think it was a Nick Dacos absolute dominant 43.
No, he was part of the problem.
Yeah, that's right. But they held their nerve, and in the end, now once again they've grinded down teams, which has been a consistent theme over the last sort of 4 to 5 weeks. So impressive.
And one man who loves the celebration. Sometimes it's 2 goals, 3 goals. Patrick Voss had 6 opportunities today to just show his celebrations. Kingy, well, he was very good.
He was. And any time that they could get the ball, particularly early, bypassing the extra, the +1 for Collingwood, and off clearance when they were 6v6, he ran rings around Darcy Moore. He really did, and he was on his bike, he was up, he was alert, he was charging at the ball carrier, and he provided such a good target. Look at that for a focal point. Like, unbelievable. And then they made the change. In the end, it was Maynard on him late, but he was just terrific. And I think it's a good sign for your team when you can have someone bob up like this that's not... It doesn't have to be Tracy. Look, it had to be Jackson late, but it doesn't have to be. So I just think it was a great performance by the forward six, who didn't get a lot of opportunities, just the 40 inside 50s. So they had to make hay when it come in, and Patrick Voss, credit to you.
Yeah, some good kicks, but also, I mean, Darcy Moore hasn't been beaten like that for about 10 or 11 weeks. He'd only had 17 goals kicked on him in 15 games this year. He'd been a real pillar back there in defence, but Paddy Voss got the chocolates in a big way.
And the setup, Kingy, for the Pies.
Yeah. So there it is there. You can see they're always holding that loose man off. It's generally in a pretty aggressive position, Joey. So if you could get it past there, then you still got to do it one-on-one, right? You still got to beat your nominal opponent. It's just interesting. It hasn't really been Amos. I expected this role to be Jai Amos, and I think Jai's probably got to look at Patrick's video and say, why isn't that me? Why aren't I the one charging at the ball carrier or getting free? Because look how alert he is. Look how on the move. Like, that's difficult to match up on if you're a fullback, even if you want to take dominant position. Look, he's in the front here. He wants to hold and then just slips around him and goes. I just love his commitment to the lead. And you've played that position more than anyone. He's assessed the time to go and boom.
And goes. Pulls the trigger, shows the speed and does it. They're set up, though, the Pies. Like, they're no dummies in terms of structure. So to find your way through and think your way through it from a Fremantle perspective takes a little bit of an ounce.
Well, just when we see them often go slow and long and not so much wide, but they go aggressive. So this ball, we talked about how aggressive they are, direct line to goal at the moment. And we think, gee, they're going to score. But have a look in behind. This is what I really like. They're always getting set up. So if they do turn that ball over, and this is why it was so hard for Fremantle to get through for the first three quarters, because they just are so organised, so set. And when you combine that with 35 inside 50 tackles or forward 50 tackles, you are going to get repeat opportunities. And they had 38 intercepts in their forward half, like a massive number. Yeah. So all the numbers, in the end, the numbers don't mean a lot, because some you can steal out and say they look like a Collingwood win, and some are a Fremantle win. But in the end, it come down to moments late, and Fremantle were too good.
Yeah,
two good teams.
And it's a good little cider for the competition too, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The way they played Collingwood.
Hope they play again.
Oh, how good would it be?
I think we might play that Craig McRae press conference.
I love that, Graham. You guys watch it. They got the pressure and they just took it on. Joey, time for your first crack.
Well, the story is going to be the Stephen May incident and what comes out of that, because it is another fascinating test case for the AFL in what is acceptable on the football field, because this is still frustrating players, fans and everyone in the footy community what you can and can't do and what is suspendable and what is not. And this is why we're all waiting for Greg Swan to start, because we want the AFL to tell us what Stephen May is meant to do in this situation. What is the alternative option for Stephen May? That's what we're all waiting for. And I'm finding it a bit frustrating they've sent this to the tribunal and not made a decision themselves, because why are we leaving it up to three past players who we're not sure how much footy they watch on a week-to-week basis to make the decision on what you can and can't do? And it has been confusing, Dicko, because there have been a number of examples in recent weeks. It's easy for everyone to sit here now and say, oh, we're just conditioned that that's automatically 3 weeks and you can't do that on a football field anymore. But when you take a look at some other incidents in recent weeks, the confusion is still there. So in round 11, this was Alex Pearce, who was given 3 weeks. And then he's gone to the tribunal, and the tribunal have said in this situation that is not careless, that there was no real alternative. He didn't elect a bump. He kept the arm sort of, you can almost see, hanging to try and limit the impact when contact is inevitable, and he was able to get off. And then there was another incident in round 16 that you want to touch on, Dicko, with Ben King, who is probably more of an incident where he's elected to bump and run past the ball, and he had no case to answer despite concussing Lachie Whitfield.
Zero case. Went past the ball to make contact with Lachie Whitfield, hits him in the head, concusses him, cheekbone, and he's out of the game. He didn't contest the ball there. He went past the ball. He had his fingers tips towards the ball, but his intention was to step and hit Lachie Whitfield. I'm with you on Stephen May. I am staggered he's going to the tribunal. I am staggered they haven't made a decision based on where it is. So they're saying, was it careless or was he contesting? They're not sure. It's severe. It's high contact. But I have no doubt Stephen May has taken a line to that ball. What do you want him to do in that split second?
Let's take a look at the slow-mo and talk through it. And Kingy, join in here, because I know you've got a different view. But what is Stephen May's alternative in this situation? He dangles...
Right there, it's probably too late, Joey.
Right there, I would say
You're not asking him to do anything in that.
So so this is what we're trying to work out. You think he needs to make a decision earlier? So we play the vision that we showed at the start. But at what point is he meant to know that he can't win the ball? So if we play the clip that we showed at the start, at what point, you tell me, is he meant to know to pull out and allow Francis Evans to win the ball? Because so you tell me where's he meant? So which part of before that should he pull out of this contest and say, Evans, it's your ball? That's what I find unrealistic in this game.
Yeah. You've said this, I reckon, 10 times in 3 years, right?
Yep.
And every time you point that out, the player that's being hit is hit with the absolute point of the shoulder by the guy that's going to the tribunal.
Absolutely.
It's staggering how every time they hit him flush here. And I don't understand the argument you're coming with. I really don't.
So take me back to the King one. Hit him in the head, no case to answer.
Well, I was with you on the King one.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
But he didn't leave his line, May. In that instance, he's got every right to go for that ball, and they're saying, well, he's got a duty of care. He doesn't have a duty of care in that. He's got a duty of care to hold his line and go for that. If that ball bounced left, and we can say maybe, he's in the right. Because we don't play with a soccer ball, we play with an oval ball. In that split second, we're asking him to pull out. If he pull out, he's going to get hammered. He could even get hurt. We're going to teach the player to protect themselves. He protected himself.
So I know your view, but
you're asking them to protect themselves at the cost of the other guy. That's the discussion.
But that's the cost of our game.
No. Well, in your eyes it is, right? And if we go down that path, we'll have jousting sticks and the Romans versus
guys will get their
Lions
full back
at
when it's careless. That was not careless.
Well, we differ. We differ on that. That's what we're trying to find out on Tuesday night.
King, we know your view, right? But what is the AFL's responsibility? Because we're now still confused.
Well, listen to Michael Voss and what he had to say to us on Saturday night on Super Saturday.
Clearly, the determining factor will be how much time maybe he had to get at the ball, and unfortunately, in the game we're playing, has got to be coached slightly different, because we know any sort of contact like that and high, he's going to be looked at really, really closely. So all I'd commend Frankie is doing is just holding his line. The ball's a big moment in the game for us. We're up against it, so for him to be able to do that was a real team act.
Well, that's confusing. He commended Frankie Evans for keeping his line on the ball, but he's saying at the same time he needs to train his players to attack the contest differently.
If you're attacking the contest, you can't make contact with the head. Is what he's saying. The fact that he turns his shoulder there, if he stays like that, that's more Alex Pearce than turning like that. He does tuck the arm here. He just tucks it. The next frame.
His arm.
Next frame.
Yeah, his arm hangs out.
He tucks it.
We showed the other angle, King.
Here.
It tucks after he hits him. He flinches after he makes contact. Watch. Look there. His arm's out. His arm is down.
Joey.
Look, his arm is down. Look there.
Joey, where does his head hit Stephen May?
His head hits Stephen May right on his point of his shoulder because of the height difference as well. There's a height difference there that we can't factor in.
His command, he's
going. A fine line.
You hold your line, Evans. Hats off, you held your line. Hats off, Stephen May. Unfortunately, he went off concussed. Unfortunate. That's our game. And I understand if that was careless, he should get 3 weeks plus. But that was not careless. That is Stephen May committing to that ball. And as a coach, if you're going to coach players, in this instant, we're going to coach this better.
Michael Voss is doing it. Michael Voss is doing it at Clubland by the sound of his own words. He's doing it. Yep. So if he's doing it, then the competition should be taking notice. And if you don't want to take notice and you want to run the red light, every now and then you're going to get booked. And Stephen May gets booked for running the red light, for taking the risk, going into that contest at that sort of speed where it's considered reckless because he has no certainty on what the outcome's going to be.
Yeah, well... if I'm coach, I'm paying every red light that my player runs through. 100%.
Agree, and you'll pay a few.
Yeah, no doubt I will.
Yeah. You've never followed the rules. Follow the rundown.
No, I'm not. No, there is no rules. All right, it's time for my first crack.
What do you got now?
Well, I'm coming in hot.
You're warming up.
Who are you going to delist here?
Well, is it too hot for the Suns in September? And I only say that because Adelaide haven't played finals since 2017. Gold Coast are on the verge of playing their first ever finals. Adelaide... You talked about the cauldron and what Collingwood would bring at the MCG. Well, what Adelaide's going to bring, you've got to prepare yourself for, and they were not prepared one little bit in terms of the Suns. So if it's Big Boy Month, it was a poor performance. And I'm just going to talk about the first half because the scores are relevant. If I've given you some stats and you didn't know the scoreline, and I said from an inside 50 perspective, Gold Coast at half-time, +1. Tackles inside 50, +5. clearances +2.
Take that.
If I said that to you right now, what do you think the scoreline would be?
Oh, I'd take that if I was Gold Coast Suns.
Correct. Well, let's flick to the scoreline at half-time. 59-4. Yeah. So this is where you put it on your players and you say, righto, as we approach September, if we play and we know how tight it's going to be, we need you, when we get it inside 50, looking at the first stat, that we need you to stand up. We need you to be big boys. And they were targeted 5 times, King and Walter, for 2 handballs, 1 kick. Didn't go near it, didn't give a yelp. Adelaide helped themselves. Ben Long, 2 handballs. We know he's been chaos all year. They just didn't bring it in the first half. They turned their toes up.
And we've put that on the radar a little bit, the 3 tools. I don't think they work for this group. I mean, and the comparison to the Adelaide Crows tall 3 is poles apart. The Suns get 85 goals from marks for the year, AFL 14th. The Crows are 131 goals. It's almost 50 goals more than their AFL number 1. Do you see them continuing with the 3 tools, or do they have to make change now with a little bit of a runway into the finals?
Well, I think the fact they played Reid, Walter, King, it's a cider. Now it's decision time. Yeah. I don't think they play them at all.
He's gone with them all year, though. He's left it late if he changes what his system is now. And they are, as Kingy said, the least effective big 3 out of all the teams in the top 8 that have them, except for Geelong, we've only got the 2. But they're the least effective. And there's still going to be some question marks in a finals-like intensity whether those big boys can get it done. Yeah,
well, I mentioned the stats. So half-time, it's the first time in their history they haven't kicked a goal in the first half. And Damien Hardwick's always full of... a synopsis in terms of where the Suns are going. So let's have a listen to what he thought of the game after.
Every good side I've been a part of gets a kick in the nuts at some stage. Today was our kick in the nuts. Like I said, there's some things in our game that, the scoreboard us. We didn't kick very well, we didn't take our chances, and they did, sort of thing. So, as I said, you've got to take your chances when you play over it. And, we had some outstanding looks going across the arcs, and we just stuffed them up.
I can back him up there. One of the kick in the nuts in 2017 when Richmond won their first flag. St Kilda, we played them in round 16. We beat them by 67 points. And we were near each other the ladder, and from that moment on, they didn't lose another game and won a flag. So that has happened to Damien Hardwick's teams in the past. They just got to bounce back and lick their wounds, but they've got Brisbane in a Q clash next week. So they'd want to get back on track and bring that intensity from the start.
Big boy fortnight, isn't it? Got a kick in the plums, I love that. 61 points though at Adelaide Oval, so it was a disastrous for the Suns. But let's celebrate Adelaide because they are a serious contender. We know what they're sitting in top 4. And Neil Bullen, what a recruit he's been this year in terms of 31 disposals a day, 3 goals. But it was just a spread of effort, Kingy, wasn't it?
Yeah, I like their back 6. I actually love their back 6. And they're no name and they're no fuss and they get the job done. They're prepared to put their bodies on the line. I marvel at what Josh Worrell's able to do. And I think that he's a player that's growing right before our eyes. Since round 12, only Tom Stewart's won the ball back more in the competition than Mark Keane and Josh Worrell. He just stands there and takes all sorts of punishment. He has no fear. He's probably, if you're ranking right now, the Rose Award for the toughest player in the competition, he'd be right there in my opinion. Well, he just stands under a high ball. You'd love to play with him. And he had 9 intercepts in the defensive 50 alone. 3 of those were intercept marks. They took 31 intercepts in the defensive 50, which is a season high for the Crows. They were awesome. And I think they're only getting better, Joey.
Yep.
They're building a bit of a chemistry. They're a force, this team. And it's not just because of Rankin and the big 3 in the forward line and Dawson. They complement each section of the ground is complemented by another.
We keep saying that they're an unheralded or an underrated back 6, but we keep talking about Worrell and Michael Laney are going to be stars. They are on the verge of becoming stars of the competition with their roles, and it's taken a while for maybe some people to realise it, but they're growing by the week and they're playing together. They haven't played a lot together as a back group until this season, and I still think they're getting better.
Yep. Time for Health is Your Best Friend, thanks to HBF Health Insurance. Daniel Rioli with a suspected calf. So as we get to the pointy end of the season and you lose a player like Daniel Rioli, it's going to hurt your chances, Joey.
It is, and we know the critical role that he plays in Damien Hardwick's system. So thankfully, he's still got enough time, and of course, we have the bye before the final series, so you do get that extra week to get back, but he's going to be pivotal. Hopefully, it's not a serious one. That's the difference between a little 3-week nick and a 6-weeker, if it's anything more sinister.
Well, the problem is they've got Brisbane and the Giants on the run home, Joey, and they're probably going to have to bank one of those games, so you need all your stars out there. He's been such a good player for them. And where would he be in their best and fairest? He'd probably be in
top
the top
5. Yeah,
top 4 or 5.
Yep. All right, the first game on your Sunday ticket was Geelong and St Kilda. 31 points to the Cats. They were in cruise control pretty much the whole game, and Cameron just gapping the competition with 5 goals for the Coleman. But They were dominant, and right from the get-go, they just put the Saints on the back foot, and they sort of cruised as they do at GMHBA Stadium. The Saints fought back a little bit, and Wanganeen Miller 36 disposals. But Kingy, in terms of Tom Stewart, he was subbed out later in the game, but how did you see him early?
I'm just looking at their back half, and particularly that winner's wedge we call the half-back flank area there. If you can't counter-punch and springboard from there, you can't win the flag. I don't care who you are. That's why we're talking positively about Fremantle in the last quarter. We showed Tom Stewart on the midweek crack show, on the preview show, how he wasn't prepared to bite that kick off there into the corridor, and I think it's hurting them. He was prepared to go lateral, and we talk about the top liners in the competition, like a Dane Zorko, which we'll show later, see it, hit it. So today, it's all I'm watching to see whether there's been any adjustments made. And I don't know whether this is by design or just happenstance, but you can see this is exactly the same kick. And he bites it off. And they go forward and score, and you say, OK, maybe they are starting to play a bit more expansive footy, because this is what the competition is telling you. If you want to win, you've got to be confident enough to put the ball into contest for your forwards to go to work. Get it there quick, in isolation, if not outnumber, and away you go. So I think there's some subtle changes. They kicked 6 goals off their half-back flank in the first half, and they haven't done that since forever, really. They've been averaging something like 10 points off that half-back flank area. So that's a big result for them in a half of football.
This is the beauty about this team and this coach, is they can adjust their game style, adjust what they want to do within weeks because of how experienced they are and how well they know each other's system. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do make some adjustments, because they weren't flying, and maybe still not anywhere near their best, but they've still got 5 weeks to hit their best form before September.
Wanganeen Miller 36, Joey. Is the ink not far away?
We're still waiting. We're still waiting for the signature. But what we're no longer waiting for, Kingy, is finally he's now a full-time mid.
Mate.
It's been building and building. He had 6 centre bounces in round 17.
What have you been doing?
He went into 13 centre bounces last week, and finally he went in almost every centre bounce this week. And you get this result. You get the game where you go, thank you. He's now the bona fide superstar midfielder they've been looking for. They've been trying to go after Callaghan and LDU. Well, he's right under their nose. Now they just got to keep.
You've got to explore. You've got to explore.
Of course you do.
I mean,
find out.
Come on.
Yeah. Took a while. We got there.
Yeah, took too long, to be fair. It's taken too long, Joey. We're laughing about it. But this sort of impact on a game of football, we should have seen 30 times by now. We shouldn't be talking about it when there's a chance of losing him with 6 weeks to go. So I fear that he's about to walk out the door, having now just established himself as an elite player.
Yep, well, he's elite, all right. He's A+. Speaking of A+, your Monday of Fox Footy kicks off with AFL 360. Jared and Gary, and it's coaches' night. Sammy Mitchell, great win in Tasmania, and Chris Scott today. They're your coaches from 6:30, and then we go on the couch. Iron Mike, he's back with Jack, Geordie and Bucks. Great to have Mike Sheehan back on Fox Footy. 7:30 kicks off on Monday.
Scoops, where are we going? How do you do this? Ash, come for a walk with me. I need company. I'm Where? 25. Where? Wait, right there. 25, isn't it? That's a goosey. Someone has the balls. Yeah, anyway. Thank you. Do you want me to sign it? Yes, please. First one. First one? Oh, I want to get around everyone. First run. We'd run around the whole. Thank you. Go, baby. Oh. Dude.
Flynn Young lapping it up in his fourth game. Well, it's a win. What do we do? I haven't been in this situation before. Oh, look, someone's got my number on. I mean, how good are those seeds for a young player? Carlton back on the winners list, 8 points over Melbourne in a thriller, to be fair. And Kingy, King Curnow was back to his best, but in a higher role as a forward. Did you like that better in terms of the deeper forward?
First half, I think he can roam more and be of more value to Carlton, and you just can't get a reference point to defend him because he's such an athlete. Have a look at that. He opens up all that space in behind. That's not his best kick, but De Koning was able to charge back. It was more favoured kick, then away you go. His ball use is generally pretty good.
Yeah, normally.
He's a beautiful field kick, and just look at the space that opens up in behind. No one really knows who to fall back onto. So he's got the ability to create short, to get better looks going inside forward 50, and then you've just got to trust lesser talent. Like that there, that's perfect. That's all that Vossi's looking for. Same thing again here. Take your time, play with a little bit of patience. If that's a lesser ranked player, they blast the ball in.
To him. They blasted into him.
Exactly right. He had 13 disposals at half time. He's been averaging 12 a game. So the more often you can get the ball in your better players' hands, the better off you're going to be. Still hit the scoreboard, still kicked a couple of goals. Dried up in the second half, and he got tugged back towards goal more and more. I'd love to see them just let him roam, let him hit the wings and just see where it takes you.
Well, it's a plus, and not to give... He's not like Franklin, but Buddy Franklin, when he was high, was a beautiful field kick.
Yeah. He's underutilising his athleticism as well, and his skill level.
Yeah. And speaking of skill level, on the flip side, Joey, Cozzy did everything possible to try and win it for Melbourne, but...
He's done it again. He's done it again, Cozzy. That's now the third time this year he's had at least 23 and 5 in a game. But it was fascinating to work out what Carlton's plan was, Kingy, because it's not like this has snuck up on the competition that Cozzy takes centre bounce and then goes and plays forward of the ball. And this is what Dusty was doing 10 years ago, and Carlton didn't have an answer for it. And it was amazing how much space he was given. I mean, 4 other times this year, on separate occasions, he's had at least 20 and 2 in a game, and he is the match winner. And this is what frustrates me. So Jacob Wiedering, he is the leader back there, and he played really well. But I'd love to see him barking at someone to say, hey, Cozzy Pickett is creeping out again. He doesn't talk. He worries about his own opponent, his own role, and doesn't get anybody else, and that's why Cozzy was able to find so much space. We've spoken about it a lot, Kingy, with Jacob Wiedering just helping out, but I just want to show you Cozzy Pickett's averages for the year. So he's 0.3 of a disposal. He's 1 disposal off Dicko, averaging 20 disposals and over 2 goals a game. The last player to do that was Stevie Johnson in 2011. Hasn't been done for nearly 15 years, a player to average 20 and 2. So for me, he should be in the All-Australian conversations. I haven't seen anybody put him in those calculations, but at least 7 games where he's had 20 and 2. He's had some massive performances. He's only had a couple of really poor ones. The St Kilda game comes to mind when he got tagged, but he has been unbelievable and I think deserves to be in the All-Australian team.
All-Australian King?
It's a tough team to get into.
He's tough team.
No, he's definitely in there. If you don't put midfielders on the half-forward flank, he's there.
Yep.
All right, let's move to Brisbane and Western Bulldogs. Western Bulldogs 10 points. It was a cracker on Friday night footy. Ashcroft boys combining with 5. Will Ashcroft kicking the sealer. But Dane Zorko, and you touched it in the Tom Stewart chat, he wasn't aggressive enough with his kicks. Dane Zorko, you said, is lethal when he can get it.
Most teams are kicking about 12 goals a game. So when you've got a guy that sets up 3 with 3 absolute darts back into the corridor, they are worth their weight in gold. Have a look at this. He just lines it up and is happy to just drop it into a little garbage bin. 60 from goal, away you go on your bike, light it up, have a go.
Zorked.
He got zorked. I told you there'd be a zorking.
It's called getting zorked.
You're getting zorked. Here comes another zorking. Watch. His eyes, he lifts up, makes the decision, bang, gone. Ahead of time, so now they get the leapfrog effect going and they're able to pretty much, look at that, have a 5-on-2 or 4-on-2 inside the forward 50. So this is the power of this man. It's about time teams start to tag him, to be fair, because he's been able to do whatever he likes across half-back, and I don't know why they're not putting time into him. Look at this kick here. Same again. It's like a replay of the one we showed off the top. So once he's able to do what he does, you end up getting zorked, and if you haven't planned for it, kiss your hopes goodbye. This guy needs to start getting some attention. For me, he's an All-Australian half-back flanker
this year. Which is a tough spot to get into, but he's in there,
At his age.
Don't you love the licence too, though?
And the confidence. But his teammates know, so they all start breaking into space and they know he's going to kick it to them. But on the flip side, the Western Bulldogs, I mean, same old story about them against the top teams, but a lot of talk about them defensively and should they play the 3 key defenders. But once again, it's been another theme that probably has got lost in this conversation around playing the 3 tools, and that is that they are by far the worst team in the competition at winning ground balls in their own defensive 50. No one wants to actually play on anyone, and they all want to peel off and win the footy. And it was Brisbane's 5th best result in 9 years, winning ground ball in their forward 50. They were +8. So you can just see here, they don't really work to man up and stop these situations. So in the last 9 years for the Western Bulldogs, only one other team has averaged less ground ball than their opponents in their defensive 50. West Coast in 2021. Well, at the moment, over the course of the season, The Western Bulldogs forwards, their opponents average more ground ball than the Western Bulldogs do. Look at this. We go one way, you go the other, and you wonder why they continue to get beat. So it's not just their key defenders that are getting beaten. They don't want to defend at ground level, and it's happened time and time again, and it's why they are by far the worst team in the competition in that stat.
And I mentioned Will Ashcroft goes forward, kicks goals. Ed Richards through the middle.
Well,
what do you do, Kingy?
This is the discussion I want to have with you guys. I know he's a star factor midfielder and he's had a great season, but is he more value to the team as a halfback flanker? You got Dale on one side, Richards on the other. They've got enough mids. They can cope in the midfield and they've got enough star factor power in there around Bont, but they lack a halfback flanker who can do all the things you've just shown and have the quality to bring the ball out, because they had 32 defensive half turnovers on the weekend and it just meant they couldn't compete. So I think they need to address this. They very rarely make a change with... it took us forever to get Lobb down back. They refused to move Norton. I think they've seriously got to look at Richards for what he offers now. And he's in ripping form, so it wouldn't hurt him to go back for a little while and just give some stability behind. It can't all be Bailey, Dale or bust.
It's a great chat. Everyone talks about the top end of the list, but they've got guys like no disrespect, but Bramble, Johannesson, even Bailey Williams, nice, but do they actually get it done often enough?
Cleary, O'Donnell.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe they just need
got a problem.
Spread the talent out a bit more.
Jeez, it's nice to have two kickers like that off half back. That'll just cut teams apart. SCG, Sydney, North Melbourne, 31 points to Sydney. This is BP premium performance of the weekend. David King, who gets the nod?
Oh, there's only one man, Isaac Heaney. It's probably the best game we've seen someone play for a little while. He was good, Dicko, wasn't he?
He was unbelievable.
Have a look why he was so good. OK, so Parker's got him. Right next to him, no problem. He's hardly been a threat. He's only finished with 34 disposals, 11 score involvements. You're right there, you got him. No, I'm just going to leave him. I'm just going to track over here and guard Errol so someone else can pick him up. Let's just let him go through the middle of the ground unopposed. You wonder why he finishes with 5 goals. He was clearly best on ground and ran around most of the night like this. You just couldn't script this. Isaac Heaney must have been wondering what the hell was going on, because he not only does he require a tag, it's a hard tag. Look at them here as they come in. We showed this last week. If you're not watching Heaney 10 seconds before the stoppage, you're missing the plan. They always do this. And Stevens, I don't know where you're standing or what you're doing, because you just allowed them out the back. This is why these two have absolute harmony at the moment with hit-out tap work to the advantage of the star. Those numbers there, Joey. I don't know how many games you had like that, but he is in rare form and teams are allowing him to get his game going.
Well, that bit of vision you showed at the start, Luke Parker, 293 was Sydney. That's just smart. He's going to Errol because he goes, I'm not getting in a foot race. Someone else grab it with. But let's talk about North Melbourne. Paul Curtis.
Yeah.
So he's getting a little bit of room himself.
No, well, I want him to play the same role as Heaney.
Exactly.
So in at centre bounce. Hasn't been in a centre bounce this year. This is last year. Went in 33 times last year. And he's a reasonable commodity in there. This is one game against Adelaide where he had 3 centre bounce clearances, and he's hardly been there since. So you're exploring your list. Going to finish 17th again. So why not find out what you've got at hand? I think this guy could go next level again. But are you going to wait 18 months to find out? The year's over. Find out where Paul Curtis can go. You should have even played him on Heaney. Go and watch how he does it. Go and watch how he moves. It's a year of exploration again in the last 6 rounds. Find out.
Yep. No, I couldn't agree more. Yep. Essendon and the Giants, 48 points to the Giants. Still just, they can smell September and they're going to be a dangerous team when it comes to the business end. The package, always nice when you come up against your old mob, what you're going to get. They're going to dish it up to you. What'd you see, Kingy?
Oh, it's just terrific, wasn't he? Just all ripped, tear and bust, and this is what he does. But, you know, I look at the GWS Giants. They lost a prelim in 93 by 1 point, a qualifying final by 6 and a semi-final by 5. They're not looking for a lot. This guy is going to have the easiest matchup. He's getting the 4th best defender every week. You got Hogan, Cadman, Toby Green, and then what do you got left for Stringer? So this guy really has probably the highest opportunity to cash in of all of them, and he's just starting to do it. I think that he's sent a couple of warning signs to the competition. Where are you going to put your 3rd best? Are you going to go to Cadman or are you going to go to Stringer? Are you going to go to Toby Green? Where do you want to take the risk?
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, that's a hard one.
No, then that's the decision teams are going to have to make. But and Giants have done it well. They have just primed him for a run and until September. That's why they got him to the club, as you said. It's a bargain pick that they took. It was a calculated risk that was high reward but no real risk associated if he didn't play. They weren't going to lose anything, but this is the upside you get.
There's his form the last month of footy. So 10 goals, 28 scoring involvements. He just has the ability to punish for you. And I just think that, we'll look back at the end of the year and say, how did they get this guy for that? Yeah. And he's credit to him, he's done the work. Looks terrific. You've got to give him a compliment on how he's presented himself, and you just hope he can have some success.
The other player, Dicko, that was brilliant was Tom Green. Yep. And I want to take a listen to what Brad Scott said post-game about that matchup.
Why don't you just tag him? When's tagging effective, and how do you balance a pure defensive tag versus one that's a bit freer that can go off post?
Yeah, we tagged him. Yeah, just didn't work.
Was that a hard follow all the way around, or was it just in contest?
Supposed to be, yeah.
Well, that's interesting he says that, because I then went back and watched the first half, and this is 5 minutes into the game. Here he is at a defensive 50 stoppage. That doesn't look like a tag to me. I don't know, Dick. I just thought, if you're at a stoppage on your own, now this is late in the first half, he walks up to Angus Clark and goes, I'll go play on you. I don't think there's a tag. And Parrish and Durham were the two that were taking him predominantly around stoppage. They're both at this stoppage, and no one goes to him. And this is a bloke kicking it to the peak of his powers. He takes on 5 Essendon players in this one clearance and wins out. And I just watched it back and thought there wasn't a real tag. Now, at half-time, Dicko, no, this is the third quarter. So he's had 17 disposals, 9 clearances at half-time. This is the first minute of the third quarter. Yeah. I'm sure they would have spoken about Tom Green at half-time, and this is the second minute of the third quarter where Tom Green does this. So if this is what you call a tag, I reckon opposition mids are saying, hey, I'll take a tag against Essendon, because he had an absolute field day and he was running amok. It was one of his career best nights.
If that's tagging, I've done a stack of tags.
You're a very good tagger
exactly
like that.
Right.
You tag me when I kick 6.
Exactly.
All right, time to take a break now. Let's check in with Bernie Vince from PointsBet. What's your crack, Bern?
Thanks, guys. My first crack is the Q-Clash Centurions. And by Centurions, I mean, I think all 4 of these players can have 25 plus on Saturday afternoon. I'm talking of Lockie Neal, Hugh McGluggage, Noah Anderson and Matt Rowell, all in ripping form at the moment, getting plenty of the footy. And I had a little look at the early forecast. 10 to 20 mil of rain predicted for the Gold Coast on Saturday, which means a lot more stoppages, a lot more access to the footy for these 4 players. If you agree with me, we'll give you $5.50 for that here at PointsBet. You can find those odds plus a whole lot more on the PointsBet app. Have a great week.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
If you do want to be an excuse maker, you can sort of make them, and I think you could almost say they're justified. But I mean, we don't want to go down that path, and we certainly don't want to. We want to appeal to our players to play with the effort and intent that our supporters and members would expect.
No, I wasn't overly pleased. I mean, there were some moments, of course, but for the most part, I thought Essendon won that battle, the turnover battle.
They came through the middle of the ground too often. They put kicks in there that we need to be able to defend, and that'll be the one that stands out for us.
The pleasing part for us is that we kept them to 16 shots on goal, and they're the most prolific scoring team in the competition. So defensively, it was a really good effort. It just ended up a close game, but I think we deserve to win.
We stuck at it pretty well for the first 3 quarters, and then just by the end, their power and their contest stuff was really, really strong in that last quarter, and they managed to kick some pretty good goals and put a gap on us.
Handling their conditions we knew was going to be a significant part of the game. Thought we were able to win the contested footy in the first quarter, and it's really difficult. It's difficult to get any territory if you're not able to win the ball in the first instance. So I thought that was something that the boys had to hang their hat on. And
we got out and had chances. We either dropped the mark or missed the kick, or fumbled that 4th handball on the trot, just missed its target. And yeah, hopefully we can get better in that space and punish the opposition a little bit more.
Yeah, to their credit, they delivered on probably what we expected them to.
you know, we had to try and adjust and get ourselves back into the game, and it was pleasing to see that happen.
We're trying to build something, and when you start like that, it's probably the second time in the last 4 weeks where we're a fair way off from a role execution and an intensity of the game. That's incredibly frustrating and angry, because that was probably the part of the game that really cost us the game.
Look, the story out for me is our younger guys being able to really play, almost like a trademark game. All of them were able to sort of put their skills on show, which was fantastic to see.
We're aware of the problem. We're working hard to fix and find the solution. It's not an easy one. It's going to take time. It's going to take leadership. It's going to take an all-in approach to get out of this position that we're in as a club.
It was the way we wanted to play. So, yeah, like I said, it's tough to win on the road, especially with what we're going through and where we're at. So, yeah, super excited for our boys and, yeah, really proud.
Terrific win for the Tigers. Number 5 for the year, Adam Uze. Well done. Unbelievable season so far for the Tigers to have 5 wins.
Yep.
All right, time for Who Had a Crack. Thanks to Hahn. Great taste, low carb. How good. Kingy, Who Had a Crack?
Well, we're having a look at the 3 tools for the Hawks and seeing how they come together. And Kelshire, I'm telling you now, is going to be part of it. Horrendous day down there, Dicko. You were down there. It was coming in sideways. And remarkably, you weren't even wet. But when I see what this guy was able to do, and he spent some time in the ruck, Joey.
Yep.
So I think, the second ruck discussion is dead for me. Battle did some time in there, and so did he. Lewis played 75 minutes, only the 7 touches, but looked really capable. So I think they're set.
Might spell some bad news for Marbior Chol come September. The other man I want to touch on is, I know he's going to be too old when Tassie come in, but Jack Gunst would be a good get because he is the Tasmanian specialist.
50.
This year, he's kicked 14 goals, 9 and 8 score assists in 4 games. Down at Tassie. So he loves it. And all those games have been in horrible conditions. Yeah. The Giants game earlier in the year, there's been some horrible ones, but he just continues to bob up. So well done to the old boy.
And a great win by the Hawks, 38 points. And just quietly, if they put a roof down there, I reckon Jack will go down there. Put the heaters on, I'll be right.
Put a roof over the golf course down there, I reckon.
Yeah. But what did you think? I mean, it was not the game in terms of wet and everything like that. Port Adelaide lost their midfield, but the Hawks got it done.
I love how they threw Impey forward. He kicked the 3. I thought Sicily was better, 12 intercepts. He had that anger back and just that surety behind the ball. So a little bit to like, but still a fraction off, I think, the very best, but we'll wait and see.
Yep, all right, we're going to take our final break. Stick around, though. The boys are going to go with the Seeds. They're top 5 so far this year.
So we waited 5 days for an AFL tribunal, and then the Advocate brought out the biggest wet lettuce of all time, and we get a fine.
So for the first time tonight, the door is wide open to a third team in WA.
His warning is that the premierships don't always happen if you stick fat at your football club.
Now, what it has revealed, we know that clubs are getting into the real sort of talking turkey time at this time of year. St Kilda, according to the player agents, are officially the most difficult club to deal with.
The midweek tackle Tuesday, 7:30. The Journos go at it. Joey, seeding time. Your top 5.
We haven't done this for a while. This is controversial. I've made a flip at the top for the first time. The last couple of weeks watching Brisbane, I think now they are the best team in it. Collingwood have dropped a couple, but they are certainly still right there. I'm not losing faith in Geelong just yet, but Adelaide could jump them soon, and the Dockers had a big 2 months. They sneak into 5th.
I didn't know you're 5. I didn't know we were doing 5 until Dick called for 5. I think Adelaide are coming with a real rush, and I think their scoring power now is going to scare everyone.
I felt bad making the Pies 2.
Well, I've got them down at 3. The Cats are still there, but sort of sliding. And the Giants, if they play with this sort of dare, can beat anyone on their day.
So your Dockers not there yet?
No, they're coming with a rush.
What about my seedings?
Takes a while to win me.
We've got Brisbane. I'm with you, Joey. Adelaide, Hawthorn, Fremantle have come into contention now. Hawthorn, come on, give me a spell.
If we'd have made it a 4, you wouldn't have had Collingwood in.
No.
Unbelievable.
No, just for the theatre of it all.
Unbelievable. No one asked for a 5.
Well, now Fly said Fremantle playing quick.
Your Twitter would have gone crazy.
What we've seen, it's no longer Collingwood and then the rest. It is the gap is closing by the week.
Yep, it is definitely closing, and it's closing on us right now for this show. Joey, Kingy, well done. Tomorrow night, all kick off though. AFL 360 with Jared and Robbo from 6:30.